Before she went to the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts, the gifted painter, sculptor, and printmaker Treacy Ziegler had been a social worker. That desire to help suffering people never left her. In 2014, I filmed her show at the Rosenfeld Gallery that included an installation of work made by both professional artists and by prisoners.
My name is Treacy Ziegler, and I was scheduled to have a solo exhibition at the Noyes Museum of Art in Atlantic City, and it's been an exhibition I've been working on for the past 2 years. My intention was to explore confinement through my engagement with the prison project affiliated with Cornell University. I develop art projects for 9,000 prisoners from across the United States. And it's ironic that this project is a distant learning one, similar to what we're experiencing now, except through the U.S. mail. I've been working in this capacity for the past 10 years. I've received approximately 20,000 letters a year. I always knew I wanted to create something from these letters that I received from prisoners, but I didn't want to create a conceptual piece. The basis of art for me needs to be an aesthetic one. I chose animals because this is one of the imageries I often teach in prisons. Animals have been telling our story for thousands of years. We tend not to judge them as good or bad, and we have the ability to suspend this moral judgment. In order for me to be helpful to prisoners, I need to suspend judgment. With this in mind, my intent was to create a state of wonderment and transformation, taking the emotion of the letters and create something out of that. I didn't want the letters necessarily to be obvious in the final animal sculpture. I wanted the presence of the emotion just to be felt. I wanted to create something that gave respect to the loneliness, pain, regret, hope that I read in these letters, something more respectful than just recycling these letters. I wasn't sure how to proceed, though. Then a couple years ago, my husband, Gary Weissman, had students who were experimenting with paper casting. I had already been working in bronze casting for a couple years, so the skills I learned transferred to paper casting, creating a clay model, then a plaster and rubber mold over that clay model. The letters are shredded, soaked overnight, and then I pulp them in a food blender. In paper casting, you then press paper pulp into the rubber and plaster molds, and they are baked a couple days in an incubator. Once they're dry, I assemble the pieces, the seams are sealed, surface is varnished, and then I work in color with washes.
Treacy wrote, "We live in a culture that has marked individuals bound for prison at birth. When I was a social worker before art school, I worked in protective services, responding to the abuse and murder of children in Philadelphia. 30 years later, I can only imagine the toddlers and children repeatedly raped and abused then are now in prison."
I want to create something for which care is the primary element. The care that I feel about the people who write to me from prison. At the same time, respecting the needs of the audience. The stories that people will want to tell of their own containment, of personal strength. I hope these stories find voice in the exhibition.
The Noyes Museum wasn't the only venue that was supposed to feature Treacy's work this spring. She was also scheduled to be in a group show at the Museum of Modern Art. This beautiful and humanitarian art needs to be seen. Let's hope these museums can reopen as soon as possible.